Hello, I'm Tim Reid, and this is Behind the Lens, a new show produced by Legacy Media Institute. The idea of the show is that we bring you a look at the emerging filmmakers and their films. Today we're with a gentleman by the name of Praheme. He was part of the Legacy Media Workshop series in London a year ago. And since then, he's made his first film, Troop 491, Adventures of the Muddy Lions. Let's talk to Praheme. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
So, Troop 491, Adventures of the Muddy Lions. This was your first feature film?
Yes, sir.
Enjoy it?
I did. I had a great time shooting it, and we worked with a lot of great people. It was a lot of fun. Very exciting process.
Let's take a look at the trailer.
Choices, chances, and consequences. The decisions that you make or don't make, they're gonna affect your future.
Hey, yo, T-Mac, get in, bro. Step up, don't be scared. Pass that.
We want to thank Troop 491 for serving as ushers this morning and give honor to God for these young men who want to spend their time being constructive. Far too many of our young people are out there doing the wrong thing, out there on the streets, committing crimes and doing drugs.
What you doing back there?
I'm gonna sign you up for the Scouts.
I don't want to be no stupid scout.
Welcome to Troop 491's annual open house.
Attention.
Scouts, that's a good thing, right? Why are you thinking about quitting?
Bulldog Patrol. Screaming Eagles. I'm just trying to get my reputation. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I can dig it. Did they see your face?
Yeah.
Damn, boy. I think you done stepped in some
I'm inquiring about a murder that took place at the basketball court a few weeks ago. You know anything about that? Tell me what you saw.
I saw the whole thing and I didn't do a thing.
What are your choices, son?
Why you hang with those lames?
If you speak up,
Some things meant to be kept quiet, you feel me?
chances are you'll be putting your mother and yourself in harm's way. But if you keep quiet,
Snitches get stitches and wind up in ditches.
you might be left alone.
If we ain't friends,
Maybe,
then you know what it is.
maybe not.
Praheme, it was a pleasure to be a part of the film. I worked with you in producing it. But I have to ask you, what were some of the things that surprised you about making this movie in terms of what you had to do and all the elements it takes to do a film like this?
I guess I was a little bit surprised by just the amount of work that has to go into making a movie. I guess from my film school experience, you have a lot of assistance from the professors and from the school who basically comes on as a producer, and this time just doing it with a small team. It was just so much work, from the actual shooting of the movie, from the editing, finding a composer, getting the sound design. I just never really realized how much work and energy went into the actual filmmaking process. You just think about the shooting of it, and you don't really think about all the other stuff that goes along with it.
Amen. That's one of the things that we talk about in the workshop a lot, the reality of filmmaking, not the illusion, not what we see in the media, but the reality of what it takes to do what we do in our business. I don't think people really understand what it takes to make a film.
Yeah, it's a lot of long hours,
Yeah.
a lot of long hours, but I loved it. And I felt like I learned a lot so that on my next film, I'll have a better understanding of how to go about doing it and maybe do it a little bit quicker.
Yeah. What were some of the learning lessons in terms of things that you'll keep with you about filmmaking that you can pass on to other young filmmakers who are starting out?
I would say my main thing was paying attention to the details. A lot of things that you do in pre-production, you want to kind of make sure that you are very attentive to those things, because when you get on set, when things start going crazy and people are starting to lose your head, you want to make sure that you've already been prepared for those situations. And that's something that, especially with working with kids, just being on top of your game so that you can always kind of point them in the right direction when they get confused. And that was probably my biggest thing, just making sure that I was on top of everything that I needed to be on.
Well, you violated two of the three major rules of first-time filmmaking. Don't make a period piece, which you did not violate. Don't work with kids, and don't work with animals. You had lions and tigers and skunks, and you had kids.
But it wouldn't be any fun if we didn't break some rules, and, But I think that's what gives this movie such a unique feel to it, because it does have animals and it does have kids, and there's not a whole lot of movies that are really reaching out to the young black youth right now.
Yeah.
And I think we kind of cornered the market on that.
I know that was your purpose, but what really drove you to write the screenplay? Because you also wrote it.
I mean, there's so many different reasons why I wrote it. One being that I was a Boy Scout, and I felt like this is a message that could really, resonate with the youth today. Even if they didn't want to go join the Boy Scouts, just the fact of, being trustworthy, honest, brave, all of those are things that I feel like this young generation, I don't believe that people are giving that to them. And so I felt like if I could sneak it in a movie, maybe I might be able to actually reach some kids and, basically present a world that I don't think has really been presented on film. Because when I was coming up, it was mainly boys in the hood, menace to society, gangster roles for young children. And that wasn't anything that my life was about. And so I wanted to make something that was more geared toward like a middle class urban family where there's two parents in the households and, just a little bit more structure. And so I made it mainly about something that was closely related to my life.
Now, you danced a thin line because you dealt with so-called middle-class upbringing of a young person, but you also dealt with the streets in an honest way. I remember in discussions with you doing some of the writing sessions where you were concerned with being honest to the streets as well as being honest to your purpose of dealing with young people. How did you feel about that? Was that difficult for you?
Well, I don't think it was, because I was a middle-class kid, but I also was adjacent to the streets. Going to Richmond Public Schools and living in the city is like you can't escape the streets in Richmond. The streets will come and find you. They will come and knock on your door, and they will borrow stuff from you. They will take stuff from you. And so I felt like as long as I stayed true to who I was and, the type of kid that I was as a teenager and kind of wrote from that perspective, it wasn't going to be something that I feel like maybe was too soft in the street areas or, something that just kind of painted it with a broad stroke that wasn't very accurate. And then I did some research. I went back to the schools and kind of hung out in the neighborhoods just to kind of see if the lingo was the same and, how people were still acting pretty much the same way they were when I was a kid. And so nothing really changed. And I just tried to keep that message, authentic.
You mentioned, as you discussed your film, about the Boy Scouts, and I found it interesting that in today's time that you would choose the Boy Scout as such a central theme. How did you have any concern about that?
No, not really. We felt like as a producer, tapping into the Boy Scouts, that was a pretty good marketing decision. There's a large amount of Boy Scouts. And then just looking back on when we were coming up, that was pretty much all we did was hang out with the Boy Scouts. We would go play basketball. It's pretty much maybe like 3 or 4 of me and my friends, and that was our lives. We did the Boy Scouts, we played sports, we went to school together, we went to church together. And so that was the core of my middle school to like maybe early high school times. And so we just kind of kept that. And we kept that true in the story to where, the kids don't think it's a cool thing. It's not like we tried to make the Boy Scouts cool and hip. Like, that's something I don't really think you can do. And that just rings true to a lot of kids who never really wanted to be in the Boy Scouts.
Well, let's take a look at a clip that involves part of the Scouts.
Okay.
A scout is brave. A scout can face danger although he is afraid. He has the courage to stand for what he thinks is right, even if people may laugh at him or threaten him.
I think, in looking at the film, that the Boy Scouts should be extremely excited about this film and in a way should help you promote it, because it really gives a modern view of how the Scouts and the code of the streets sort of are a parallel kind of thing. It is, I think one of the problems why so many young people go into gangs is because that passage of that coming of age, which used to be done by elders, are now being done by people in the streets.
Yeah, most young people are looking for something to believe in or something to hold to. And if you don't give them anything, they'll go find it, with the gangs or with, their friends who kind of create their own code. And most of the young people's code right now is to not care about anything and by any means necessary to get, what it is that they want. And so by presenting this Boy Scout code, we give them a completely different outlook on life. And it can help kids if they want to be helped.
Well, you also, it's something else you've done that I found very interesting and pleasing as looking at a story like that is that you stay true to the reality of it, but you also blended in some non-traditional, or what we normally don't see in films when it relates to black youth or black families. I mean, the only thing, closest thing that I can say in terms of kids to this movie is Stand By Me, which was done many years ago with River Phoenix and all those. I mean, this is a modern black style Stand By Me. It's just kind of different elements. But you also stayed true to some of the issues in our community in terms of family. You gave a non-traditional, traditional view of a black family. Dad is incarcerated, mother is struggling. She's not a single parent because what I liked about what you did was they stayed in touch. They stayed connected as a family unit, despite the tragedies that they were and the conflicts that they were dealing with. So I like the way you dealt with that. So let's talk about that in terms of your view of the black family in this particular story.
Well, I wanted to keep it with like a lot of the kids that are in the inner city. They are with single parents, whether they're still together with the father who's in jail or not. There's a lot of young women out here raising young boys on their own. And so one of the benefits that Tristan has is that he does have a father who's active in his life and is in prison, but he still is active in his life. And I just wanted to show that just because one parent is in prison and the other one is out doesn't mean that they can't still be connected and still be, I guess, attentive in their son's life and give them positive reinforcements. And that's what I tried to do with Tristan and his father. When he comes to him asking about what should he do, he kind of tells him what he would have done and then allows Tristan to make a decision on his own so that he can hopefully grow up to be a better person than he was and not make those same mistakes.
Let's take a look.
My father died when I was about 14 years old, and they shot him. Killed him over a freaking card game. But before he died, he sat me down and he told me something. He said, choices, chances, and consequences. The decisions that you make or don't make, they're gonna affect your future. He taught me that the hard way.
Okay. So what does that mean for me?
What are your choices, son? I mean, speaking up or keeping quiet, right? If you speak up, chances are you'll be putting your mother and yourself in harm's way. Folks don't like snitches.
Yeah, I know. They wind up in ditches.
Yeah. But if you keep quiet, well, chances are you might be left alone. Maybe. Maybe not. If you do keep quiet, you'll have to live with knowing that you did nothing. Son, it's tough either way. It's hard to say. Me, I probably would.
What? What would you do?
I would keep my mouth. Son, look, I can't make this decision for you, all right? This is something that you have to do on your own. You have to be your own man. But I know that you can do it. I know you can.
I think the way you dealt with that situation with father and incarcerated and his son was unique in a way. I have not seen that in the current crop of films. One of the other things I like about, and I don't want to give too much because I want people to go and see this film as it appears in the theaters or on television, is that you really dealt with the code, the street code, and you gave what I don't normally see, solutions. You gave an alternative theory, an alternative way to look at the code of the streets. Was that important to you?
Yeah, I really hate that code of the streets attitude. The way my father always told me, it was the code of the streets is like an honor amongst thieves. It's like when you're going to do crimes, that's a code that you commit. Like if me and you go do a crime together and you get caught, you don't tell on me. Mm-hmm. But it has nothing to do with innocent bystanders who happen to see crimes go by. And I just feel like the criminals have used that to take advantage of the communities. And I just felt like if I could do something and say something about that, where we could kind of, you know, get some dialogue and start having people actually talking about what do these code of the streets mean and who do they apply for, and we can start getting some of these criminals out of our neighborhoods and, you know, stop allowing them to take advantage of it so much.
Well, that's kind of what you came out with, and I appreciate that, because it wasn't so much about, you know, right and wrong. It was about the damage that's being done, who people abuse the system, abuse the code, abuse the community, and I don't think anyone can argue with that, even criminals, that matter.
Because people don't really realize how much like one murder has an effect on the entire community. You now have a mother who's lost her son, or, you know, now a child who's lost their father, another woman who's lost her provider. It just affects, it creates a ripple that just kind of spreads out through the entire community. And right now you have so much music and movies that glorify it that nobody's really doing anything to stop it. And so, you know, I was just hoping to create some conversation so that we can actually go out here and have, you know, some real change in these communities.
The mission of the Legacy Media Institute is to work with exciting filmmakers such as Praheme and to give them some hands-on reality training in the field of storytelling. Legacy Media Institutes grew out of my concern that young filmmakers don't really understand not only the practicalities of the business, but the power of the business. This is a very powerful medium. It is the most powerful force on this planet by man. And I think people are going into it and making and creating images, but they're not really thinking about the power of these images and what they really hope to gain. So I figured if I could put together an organization that could go to the source, get these young filmmakers in the beginning of their career, and also give them a reality training, practical hands-on experience with a little coaching from people who have years of experience, that may jar them into a reality.
I mean, we were brought into environments with a lot of people that we otherwise would not have met, and to be able to actually go up to these people and speak and get advice and feedback from them was something that I think nobody else would generally just have that opportunity to do. So to be able to learn how to do those things, the Institute, you know, taught you that.
Getting the insight from all the professionals. Mr. Simmons, he was only here for one day, but some of the lighting things that he taught us, I definitely will keep forever. Mr. Avery teaching us how to interact with actors, Monty Ross, and budgeting.
Wisdom comes from applying information to an actual process. Unless you go through the process, you can't gain the wisdom.
I'm a big hands-on person when it comes to teaching. I mean, you can lecture me all day and it'll go in one ear and out the other, but if you take the time to actually show me how to light something and show me, you know, the business aspect of it or whatever it is that you're teaching me, I can receive it better and it'll stick with me longer.
I've never been on like a real set before, so even that's like enough to just get me going in the right direction.
It's an adrenaline rush, like fast paced, being on different sets, locations, and seeing what can come out of when you organize everything perfectly.
Like in any production, we had a lot of obstacles with people. Everyone has their own personality, but during the filming, we were all together and it went the way I expected.
I've never had to work with so many people with big egos in my entire life.
I mean, I don't think there's anybody in our business, of show business, who doesn't have an ego. The thing is, will the ego interfere with the fact that this is a collaborative business? But that doesn't mean that they're not able and capable of working together.
I mean, I got a pretty big ego myself.
Ego? Probably me. I think I already have the biggest ego, unfortunately.
Put all egos aside, you have to put your attitudes aside, and you have to work with people. And there's gonna be confrontations, there's no doubt about that. Everybody who starts out friends is not gonna end up friends. It's just a matter of knowing your place and being put in your place, because sometimes you do have to be put in your lane.
And coming into the situation, I kind of felt like it was gonna be like a real world situation, except, you know, film school and a black college. And honestly, that pretty much is what it was. It was like College Hill, but film style.
Keep striving. It's gonna be some tough times, people gonna argue, but overall it's gonna be a great experience. You learn a lot, you get to meet a lot of great people.
If I have to give advice to the next LMI group, it would be to make sure this is your passion it will be a turning point at the end if you really, really want to do production.
Be sure that they come prepared to work hard, prepared to devote all of the time that they have to this program.
Just be about your P's and Q's and remember this is a team. If you follow this as a team and everyone knows that and works hard, I think you'll be pretty successful.
Take everything in. It's a great experience. It's a lot of hard work. And just have a great attitude.
Come willing to be put in any position, willing to learn and grow. Don't feel like you've already reached a level of where you can't receive any more information or you already know how to do everything. You can always grow. There's always room for growth.
Fully engulf yourself in this process and take advantage of the opportunity, because your life can change after getting this program. All the stuff you learn and the people you meet, and your career could start from here.
This school paid it forward for me, so I'm coming back to return the wonderful gift that it gave me. Why did you want to become a filmmaker?
I just have something to say. Like I've always been a storyteller. I've always liked, telling jokes and writing poetry and just, getting my voice out. I felt like as a young kid, I really identified like what was going on with slavery and like seeing people who never had a voice. And so I always made sure that as a kid that I was going to speak up. I was going to say something, whether I was right, whether I was wrong, I was going to speak up. I was always the kid in class who was answering questions. If somebody said something I disagreed with, I'm going to let you know that I disagree. Like, I just have a voice and I want to share it.
Well, as you know, in a way, we go way back in terms of your Chronicle life. I remember when you were, I guess, still in elementary school or just about to go into the next area, that you showed up at our studio here at New Millennium and voiced your interest in wanting to be a filmmaker. And what I find not surprising, but kind of unique, is I think Daphne told you, stay in school, get your, go to film school, and you did everything that was asked of you. I mean, you went to Howard for undergraduate, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah,
and then Florida State for my master's.
Yeah. Praheme, I followed your career for some time. I'm very proud of the work you've done.
Thank you.
Excited about this film. I think Troop 491 is going to be something that resonates with young people. Thank you for making it.
Thank you for allowing me to make it with you. Thank you.
Pleasure.